Let me again create an extra column in here. So right click, insert. So I got this extra column in here that I don't need. To get rid of it, I can also just do a right click at the column header and select delete. That will get rid of that column. The same thing if you wanted to get rid of rows. So if I decide that I don't need this row right here, I could click on it, do a right click, then select delete. Now I'm going to change my mind, so I'm going to put it back, undo. Now we need to start entering some of the numbers that go right here under the what if assumptions. Okay, and as you type the numbers, if you type already the number with symbols that identify the format, Excel will then recognize that format and use it for the entries that you're putting in there. So I'm going to go to B2 and I'm going to type 200,000, but I'm going to do it using the commas and the 2 decimals for after the number. So I'm going to type in 200, comma, for the thousands, 3 zeros, 0.00, and then I hit enter. So notice that it retained that format. Okay. On cell B2, I'm going to type in 5.75%. Okay. Then if I hit enter, it retains that format. Okay. So let me continue down the line and put in the numbers. So 57, 50%, enter. 15.00%, enter. 7.50%, enter. 3,500,000 with 2 zeros in the decimals, enter. And then 18.75%, enter. Oftentimes when you work with Excel, you will find yourself working with a spreadsheet that is too wide or too long, so that when you scroll down you lose sight of the information on the top, so you don't know whether this is June, July, August, and so on. Or I'm going to scroll back up. If you go to the right, you lose sight of whether you're doing the revenue or the expenses. So one way to get Excel to always show certain information on the screen is to freeze the rows and columns that you would like to have shown every time. So to do that, I'm going to position the cell pointer at the cell that I would like to have this be frozen at. Now, if I select here, I can freeze it so that the top section always shows up and so that the left section always shows up when I scroll over or down. So now, once I have the cell pointer in here, when this is my active cell, I'm going to go to view, and then I'm going to go to freeze panes, and then I'm going to pick freeze panes right here. Now notice that now I got this vertical line and this horizontal line. If I scroll over to the right, I still see my area right here. You see column A and then MN and so on. I'm going to do Control Home to go back to the beginning. And then if I scroll down, I still see the months and the what if assumptions. Control Home. Let me once again use the Home tab. Okay. Now I'm going to enter the revenue for these different months in here. So let me type it in. I'm not going to put it with the commas for the thousands and so on. I'm just going to type in the plain numbers. Okay. So to go from one entry to the next on the right, I could hit the right pointing arrow. I can point and click, or I can use the tab. So I'm going to use the right pointing arrow. I just realized that I'm entering the numbers in the wrong place. This number should be in September, so this is a good chance to practice the moving of things around. So I'm going to click in here. I'm going to grab the little edge of it and then bring it over to here. Done. And I'm going to do the same thing for this one right here. I'm going to grab the edge and move it over to October. Okay, now let me go back and put the numbers for July. Now let me put August. Now I look in here and I realize again that this is in the wrong place, but this time I'm going to move it using both cells, and I'm going to move the whole thing over to the right. And now October is 29, okay, and November is the one that starts with 76. Okay, so let me go back to September. Okay. So just keep in mind that if you make a mistake in one cell, you can always move things around, or you can modify it right there. You don't need to retype the whole thing. So let me do December now. Okay, enter. Now I need to figure out the total right here. So I'm going to go to the cell where I want the result to show up. And now I need the total for these numbers. Now we have different ways of doing this. Again, I could point at the auto sum right here, or the symbol, and if I double click, since it has the sequence of numbers that we need to work with right next to it, it will automatically give us the sum of the numbers to its left. Okay. Or we could click the arrow and then pick the sum, and then we get to see if it's showing the correct range of numbers. I'm going to use the shortcut that the book says to use, which is pointing here and then go click click, and by double clicking in there, let's see what actually was written here. It says the sum from B13 to G13. Now this is B13 and this is G13, so it actually gave me the correct answering here. The next thing that we're going to do is to tap into something that every computer has, and it has to do with the fact that every computer has an internal clock, and Excel can basically find out what the date is right at this very moment, the date and time. Now to do that, you can ask Excel to execute a function called now, N-O-W. So I'm going to go to cell I11, and I'm going to ask Excel to type that formula for me. So I'm going to type in equal. Then if I know the name of the function, which is NOW, I could type it in. Or if I start typing the letters N, it basically gives me the list of the different functions that start with that, and you can pick the one that you need by double clicking. Okay, now it opens a parenthesis, and it tells me down here that the function is actually the words with an opening and closing parenthesis. So I just close the parenthesis and then I hit enter, and it tells me that the date is 10/8/2011 and the time. Now let me go back to the cell where I wrote the date, and then I say to myself, well, I don't like the way that date looks. I would like to see just the day, the month, and the year. And the year, I wanted to show the 4 digits. So to do that, I need to go into the format for the cell. Now the format for the cell will be right here in the home tab, and I could click this little guy right here. Or if I want to do it directly from the keyboard, I could press Control 1. So if I do Control 1, it brings up the format cells, and then I want this to show as a date, and then I pick from here the format that I would like to use. Scroll down through the list until you find the format that you want. I want the format that shows the month, the day, and the year. So I click on it, then click OK.